Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and you're here because you want a Rolex Explorer in a 41mm case. Well, you clicked on the video, you're here. I hate to break it to you, it ain't gonna happen. Now, you read people predicting what's gonna happen next year with the Explorer 2 and the Explorer. And next year, 2021, we're definitely going to see something happen with the Explorer line. That's because the Explorer 2 is having a 50th anniversary. So they're definitely going to do something with that. But also the regular Explorer has the 31-32 movement and it's due for an upgrade. Even the modest Oyster Perpetuals are using the 32 movement. And because there's no longer a 39mm Oyster Perpetual, people seem to predict that the Explorer is going to move up to a 41mm case. They're looking to what Rolex is doing and applying contemporary rules across the board. That's not what you need to do. Here's the secret of Rolex, and it's not really that much of a secret. It's in plain sight if you're perceptive. And what Rolex wants to do is they want to differentiate their models. Look at something like this 40mm 14060 Submariner. Okay, this is virtually identical to a 16710. Case-wise, bezel-wise, this has a black bezel. The GMT Master 2, the 16710, came out with a black bezel. The hands are the same. The dial is super similar. The movements are different. The Oyster bracelets are the same. Well, a little bit. The clasp on here is different. But you show my wife those two watches, she'll say it's the same watch. It's the same watch. And to us, they're completely different watches. But to people who aren't as into this hobby as we are, they look kind of the same. And so what Rolex is trying to do is they're trying to really differentiate their lines. And let's look at some examples. All right, so the 40mm Explorer 2, the 16570, that grew from 40mm to 42mm. All right, so it differentiates itself. You've got the Sea Dweller, which used to be 40mm, that's now 43. You have the Sub, which was 40, now that's 41. You have the Yachtmaster, that used to be 40, now it's 40 and 42. They've got a few different sizes. And what Rolex is doing is they're differentiating. They're trying to make each watch more unique, all right? Perhaps they're trying to make it so there's a watch for everybody, but I think really what they're trying to do is they're trying to differentiate these watches. They don't want you looking at a 14060 and a 16700 GMT and saying, hey, what's the difference? They look the same. They really want to crystallize the identity of these watches, and they're changing them to really make them particular to that model. All right, now let's think about the 116710 LN. That's the all black bezeled GMT Master 2. That's gone. All right, I mean, when it comes to black bezels, that's a Sub thing, period. All right, and the GMTs have bicolored bezels now, and that's it. They'll never have all black bezels. What about the bracelets? Well, the 16710 has the Oyster bracelet, but now think about the 126710, the contemporary BLRO, the Pepsi, or the BLNR, the Batgirl as it's known. Well, that has a Jubilee bracelet. It will not come out in the future with an Oyster bracelet. That is reserved for Submariners, for other watches. The Jubilee, well, that's what's going to be used on the GMT Master 2 going forward. It's particular to the identity of the watch. So we're not going to see another Oyster braceleted GMT Master 2 in the future, okay? They don't want the GMT to step on the toes of any of the other Oyster braceleted watches. Now, when it comes to the Oyster bracelet on the Contemporary sub, well, it's got brushed links. But what about the Yachtmaster? Well, it's got polished center links. It differentiates itself. And the same thing with the Daytona and the Milgauss, all right? You get the unpolished center links on the Air King, all right? Now, obviously, you're seeing some overlap. Polished middle link Oyster bracelet, the Daytona has it, the Yachtmaster has it. They can't make everything particular, but what you're seeing is you're seeing them really, like I said, crystallize these models in unique configurations that make them stand alone. So you can't look at a 5-digit sub and a 5-digit GMT and say, hey, they look the same. What's the difference? Just get one. They're the same watch. All right. Think about the 16570, the 40 millimeter Explorer 2, and the 16710, the GMT Master 2 5-digit pre-ceramic. It's got the same movement. Okay. I mean, we're talking the difference between the bezel, right, and the dial color, and of course the writing on the dial. I mean, it's essentially the same watch, guys. They don't want that happening anymore, and they're trying to well, make sure it doesn't happen in the future. And for this reason, you're not going to see a 39 millimeter Oyster Perpetual, okay, because, well, you're not going to see one in the future because that is the territory of the Explorer. And that's why it's not going to 41. So if you want a 36 millimeter no date watch, you got the Oyster Perpetual. If you want a 41, you've got that. If you want a 39, well, your only option is going to be the Explorer, okay, and it's going to have the 32 movement, just like it's kind of funny because the Oyster Perpetuals are actually a little ahead of the Explorer, which is crazy, but it's what it is, and it's not going to grow, okay? The realm of the 39 millimeter no date watch is the Explorer only, and they don't want the Oyster Perpetual stepping on the Explorer's toes, and that's why the 39 millimeter Oyster Perpetual is gone. You're not going to see it again, all right? And it's also why the 36 millimeter 369 dials are gone. They used to make that, well, in a beautiful blue dial and in a beautiful silver dial, which was discontinued a few years back. And you're never going to see that 369 dial on the Oyster Perpetuals again. Why? It is the realm of the Explorer, okay? And also of the Air King. Again, there's a little bit of overlap there, but you know, those dials are completely different. But there you go. They're trying to really make these have a personality unto themselves. They don't want the models stepping on each other's toes. There's a model for everybody. You've got the 36 millimeter Oyster Perpetuals. You got the 39 millimeter Explorer. You got the 41 millimeter date or no date, date just or Oyster Perpetual. You've got 41 millimeter in the Milgauss and the Air King. You've got 40 millimeters in the GMT. You've got 41 millimeters in the sub, 42 in the Explorer 2, 42 in the Yachtmaster, 43 in the Sea Dweller, 44 or 45 with the Deep Sea. There's a size for everybody, and there's a configuration, a bracelet configuration for each watch. And you know, we're seeing them really work on the identity of these watches, and it's kind of nice and kind of interesting to see. But you know, if you're like me and 40 millimeter was the sweet spot for your rotating bezeled professional watches, and 36 for the, you know, smoother fluted bezeled watches, well, they've kind of lost you. But again, you know, there's something for everybody. For me, I mean, I loved GMT Master 2s before, but hey, it's the Jubilee braceleted, which I love, very comfortable bracelet, 40 millimeter bicolored GMT watches. I mean, that's my watch right there. All right, in the modern line, I love that watch. But for people who want that extra millimeter, you got the new sub. So that's what's going on. That's why you're not ever going to see an Explorer 41 millimeter. It's going to stay 39 millimeter, and that's why you're never going to see a 369 dial on an Oyster Perpetual again. Let me know what you think of this. Take care. I'll see you next time.